Back to my YouTube channel. I'm Shlok Kulkarni, and today we are going to start with a new set of questions from VOR, ADF, RMI chapters in RK Bali. Very important questions from the point of view of exam. So far, we have done question 14 to question 17 or question 18 in the previous video lecture. Now we will start with the next question from that. So all the best. Let's begin. So question 18, pay attention. So question 18 was covered in the previous lecture in which we have solved question 14 to question 18. So now we will start with question number 19 directly. Aircraft heading is 180 true. Variation is 7 east. ADF bears 200. Okay. NDB and VOR are co-located. What are RMI indications? So RMI always points towards QDM. Okay, that is track magnetic bearing to the station. So we need a final answer in magnetic. So let's convert this aircraft heading into magnetic heading. So with variation that is east, what happens with variation east? Magnetic is least. Magnetic is least. So heading of aircraft in magnetic terms will be 180 minus 7, which is 173 magnetic. 173 magnetic. Okay. So heading is given to us relative bearing. So that this is ADF, automatic direction finding. So they are trying to tell us that relative bearing is 200 degree. Now we have to find RMI indication, or in other words QDM indication. Now very simple formula, RMI or QDM equals to magnetic heading plus relative bearing. So magnetic heading is 173, relative bearing is 200. So QDM equals to 373 degrees, or 373 minus 360, which is equal to 013 degree. So track towards the station is 013. Okay, let's draw this. So if this is your NDB and VOR, okay, so QDM is 013. So that means this is your QDM 013. You're going towards the VOR. So that means you will be somewhere on this side of the VOR with your heading of 173. So let's say this is your north datum. So 173 will be pointing somewhere in that direction. Okay. And relative bearing is 200. Relative bearing is 200. So let's start. So magnetic heading is 173. Track towards the station is 013. So now the relative bearing starts from aircraft heading and goes towards the track towards the VOR station. So this angle will be how much? It will be magnetic bearing to the station, or QDM, equals to magnetic heading plus relative bearing, which is magnetic heading is 173 and relative bearing is 200. So that becomes 013. If the value is more than 360, subtract 360 from that. So if QDM is 3013, QDR will be 013 plus 180, which is 193. So QDR is the radial at on which your aircraft is situated. So if this is your NDB VOR, this will be your radial 193. Let's draw it over here. Radial 193. This will be 013. Aircraft is pointing on at a heading of 173. So somewhere here. So somewhere here is the aircraft heading, which is 173. Now what is relative bearing? It is the angle between your heading and the track towards the station. Now track towards the station is what track? It is 013. So let's start measuring this angle from heading clockwise direction. So this entire thing. Now we know this two dots, this one red dot and this another red dot, dot to dot is an angle of 180 degree, and plus this extra angle is how much? Another 20 degree, because total relative bearing is how much? Total relative bearing is 200 degree, which is 180 plus this 20 and this 180. Okay, so this is how you represent it diagrammatically. Now let's go to next question. Aircraft is homing onto a station on 315 heading. Okay, variation is given, RMI is given to you. So heading is 315 true. So magnetically it will be 320 magnetic. Why? True heading is 315, variation is west. Variation west, magnetic best. So magnetic heading will be more than true. QDM is 090. QDM is 090. So QDM we have already found 090. QDR will be the reciprocal of QDM, right? So which will be 270. QUJ, which is true bearing to the station. We have magnetic bearing to the station 90. So true will be difference of variation. So if variation west, magnetic will be best, true direction will be less. So QUJ will be 090 minus 5, which is 085. QTE is QDR ka true version. So which is QDR is bearing away from the station, magnetic. QTE is true bearing away from the station. So 270 minus 5, which is 265. So these are four simple sub questions. What will be the ADF reading if both VOR and NDB are co-located? What will be the ADF reading if both NDB and VOR are co-located? So another simple. So formula is QDM equals to what? It is equal to magnetic heading plus relative bearing. So QDM is given to us 090. Magnetic heading is how much? It is 320 plus relative bearing. So relative bearing equals to 090 minus 320, which is minus 320 minus 90 is 230. Minus 230. We don't need minus sign in a final answer. So add 360 to that. So it will be 130. So a relative bearing of 130 degrees. So this is the final answer. QDM formula we all know. Magnetic heading plus relative bearing. Substitute the values. Final answer will be relative bearing of 130. So such questions will appear in the exam. So very simple. So with this, we have come to the end of this lecture. I hope you have understood these two questions very well. Very simple formula based. Along with every formula, also draw a diagram. Okay. Now for this last question, I have not drawn a diagram, but you should be able to draw the diagram. Okay. QDM is given to you. I will still draw it for you. See, QDM is 0900. Let's draw NDB VOR. If QDM is 0900, QDR will be 270. So that means you are on radial 270 and going towards the VOR NDB, you will have to fly a QDM of 0900. So one thing we know for sure, our position is on radial 270. Heading is 320. Heading of aircraft is 320, which is right of 270. 320 will be towards the right hand side of 270. Now, what is the relative bearing? It is the angular difference between your magnetic heading and your QDM. So, magnetic heading to QDM, this is how much it will be 180 minus 80 minus this much, this angle. Now, what is this angle? It is 320 minus 270, which is 50 degree. So, relative bearing will be 130 degree. How? Why 50? We know the entire semicircle, the entire thing, this entire thing would have made a 180 degree. This entire thing would have made a 180 degree semicircle. But we are not making a full semicircle. We are making a small one. Okay. So from the full 180 degree, we are subtracting this small yellow part, which amounts to 50 degree, and so we get a relative bearing of 130 degree, which is this same. Okay, so I have also drawn this diagram for you. With this, I hope it is becoming simpler and simpler with every passing question. Keep practicing. All the best, and don't miss the next videos in which I will solve the further questions. Keep learning.